Hi everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. We'll just give everyone a couple of minutes to get into the session before making a start. Okay, I can see the numbers increasing. So once again, thanks everyone for attending. And today we're going to be covering how the UK's deposit return scheme impacts businesses and how EDI can help. So, as part of the webinar, we'll delve into what we're hearing about the scheme so far and some global context. Then, we'll look at the impacts that the scheme is likely to have on businesses from a compliance point of view. And then we'll delve into how this is linked to EDI before running through a short example use case. Then, at the end, we'll cover any questions that come up during the course of the webinar, so please do ask them and we'll get through as many as possible at the end of the session. So, hi everyone, I'm Rick or Richard, and I'll be your host for today. And I'm thrilled to be joined by Vicky. Vicky's one of our experts in EDI and all things supply chain here at True Commerce. So, welcome, Vicky.
Thanks, Rick. Really excited to dive into this topic today.
Perfect. So, Vicky, why don't you kick us off and let's set the scene just on what exactly the DRS or deposit return scheme is and why now?
Absolutely, it's a good place to start. So the UK Deposit Return Scheme, or DRS, is a programme designed to increase recycling rates and reduce litter. It's scheduled to launch in England and Northern Ireland on October 1st, 2027. It's been highlighted as an important step towards individual businesses and the UK's own net zero goal as well. So huge benefits predicted. This scheme will involve consumers paying a small refundable deposit on eligible single-use drinks containers, currently cited to be the 150ml to 3 litre size. Different values on those deposits which are yet to be set. And those can be redeemed when the empty containers are returned to designated points. So imagine you buy a bottle of water at your local shop. Under the DRS, you'd pay an extra 20p, for example, as a deposit. And then when you finish the drink, you return the bottle to a return point, sometimes called reverse vending machines in other countries that have rolled this out, and you get your 20p back. So it's really, really simple. Today, we'll discuss the impact that this will have on businesses. So producers and manufacturers will be required to pay the collected deposits to the deposit management organisations when the containers are sold. Retailers will need to facilitate the return of containers and refund deposits to consumers. And then there's the compliance and reporting element, which is also key.
Thanks for the overview, Vicky. Really interesting stuff. So yeah, I'll run through a couple of key facts in terms of some background, in terms of why is DRS getting brought in, and why it matters really. So we've got a couple of stats here that we've just, that we've found by doing some Googling. And it really speaks to, some of the reasons why it's getting brought in. So estimates around the financial implications of not implementing something like DRS, looking at the expected output of the scheme, and finally, an estimate into the expected environmental benefits of the scheme. So I think overall, really important. It's going to bring lots of benefits. And yeah, we'll delve into some of the things that it's going to mean for businesses on later slides as well. Okay, so we've covered some of the environmental issues on the previous slides and some of the expected benefits that will come as a result of the scheme. But ultimately, this isn't just a UK initiative. Other countries are doing it as well. That's right, isn't it, Vicky?
Exactly. So Germany, for example, they introduced DRS back in 2003. Our German colleagues have told us that if you walk through a park there, you'll rarely see a single discarded bottle. So it's not just about introducing a new system for system's sake. This is building a real recycling culture.
Thanks for that, Vicky. Yes, our colleagues in Germany have said that, and that'd be great to see. And if we can see similar cleanups in the UK, it'd be absolutely fantastic. But yeah, let's delve through into the timings really, and discuss when businesses, really need to act in regards to DRS. There's a few separate steps, so I don't know if you could potentially run through some of the dates in mind and what some of them will mean for businesses involved in this.
Good question, Mick. Thanks. Yeah, so we're being very organised here, getting out in front of this. It is going to be a phased approach, and while some key points of the scheme are still being finalised, this will give you an idea of some of the early dates that we're seeing so far. So spring 2025, the regulations are finalised, and just last month, the Deposit Management Organisation, or the bodies that are running the scheme, were appointed. And then spring 25 to spring 26, the deposit management organisations will start building the system. That's staffing, IT, logistics, etc. During this stage, this is when businesses, you guys, are going to need to start considering how you'll comply with the new requirements that are being imposed. In the upcoming slides, we'll cover off some of the impacts that this will have on you, on EDI users, and how you can ensure success across your supply chain. Then from spring 26 to autumn 27 is the rollout phase. Retailers will set up return points, install machines, and there'll be a big public awareness campaign.
Yeah, great stuff, Vicky. So I guess, looking at around 2026, businesses are going to have a plan really, or they're going to risk scrambling later. We know that, digital transformation projects, EDI, things like that, these projects can take a while, can't they? So people need to be prepared.
Exactly. You need to get planning now, save a lot of headaches later. As Rick said, they can take time. You don't want to end up rushing last minute. The compliance element is very real, as is the reporting. You need to make sure that you're good to go by that deadline.
Okay, so let's switch gears if we can, Vicky. Let's try and talk about how EDI plays a role in all of this. We've done a good job of outlining what's known about the scheme so far. As you mentioned, things are still getting finalised. But yeah, let's try and delve into, the impacts that this has on businesses really, and how EDI plays a part.
Sure, Rick. So EDI, or Electronic Data Interchange, is really the nervous system behind a functioning DRS supply chain. In the context of the UK's deposit return scheme, EDI will act as a critical backbone for managing the flow of information between key stakeholders such as producers, retailers, logistics providers, and then the recycling operators. So bottle manufacturers and distributors will use EDI to communicate detailed product information to retailers, including deposit values for each item. And EDI helps to ensure that those details are consistently formatted and integrated into retailer systems. Retailers can use EDI to report sales data to help track the deposit returns. And then for logistics providers, this will help streamline the communication between themselves and the retailers so that they can distribute the containers. And from a recycling perspective, EDI can be used to verify eligibility and reconcile deposits. So a lot of big topics there. There's various estimates covering how many drinks containers and bottles will be recycled annually. I'm not going to name a number there. There's a lot of information. It's going to be a very big number. But thankfully, EDI has been used for decades to power supply chains and facilitate the exchange of millions of products every week. So it's not going to be too big an ask. The prominence of EDI in the grocery sector ensures it will play a central role in the DRS scheme and updated supply chains across England and Northern Ireland. So an example for you, Rick. So let's say you're a supermarket chain, you've got 300 stores across the UK. Now, we don't know where the bottle return locations will be yet. That's yet to be confirmed by the DMOs. But in theory, each store selling these bottles and cans could have a reverse vending machine in situ, accepting bottles and cans. So without EDI, businesses would need to manually exchange orders and invoices within their supply chain, and the added DMO compliance returns reporting would add additional complications to this process. With EDI, all of your supply chain data can be automated, and any returns data received from the DMO, either directly or via the reverse vending machines, can be integrated with your internal systems. So this means no manual data entry, fewer errors, faster customer refunds, 100% compliance, and vastly reduced room for error.
Yeah, thanks, Vicky. And all super important points, really. And I guess, ultimately, a lot of the data that's involved in the EDI exchanges back and forth between manufacturers and retailers can all be integrated into ERP systems, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So for most businesses, there's an ERP in the background at the heart of the business. It needs to know everything that's going on. EDI typically would connect into this additional process around DRS also has an impact on your ERP. So the idea is that you could even configure your EDI to trigger financial postings in SAP or NetSuite, for example, moving deposit liabilities and triggering credit notes. So this will help turn a regulatory obligation into an automated process.
Perfect. Thank you. And I know we spoke then about reverse vending machines. Now, as we've sort of said, lots of elements of the scheme are still being built. A lot of it's still being finalized, and there are still some unknowns. But reverse vending machines are what you've seen online in terms of the names for places where people can return these bottles. I guess reverse vending machine because off it to a vending machine, I guess. But yeah, that's what we're discussing. That's what we're calling, the bottle return areas where you can return these containers or bottles. Okay, thanks, Vicky. So I guess there's big changes coming really for businesses up and down the supply chain. Is there anything else that businesses need to know of with regards to this? Is there anything else they need to get ahead of and things like that?
Yeah, so there's some extra accommodations that will be needed as well, Rick. And because the initiative's targeting drinks containers, any manufacturer selling drinks in plastic bottles or cans will need to add an additional field into their EDI invoice message to accommodate that new process. So there's a lot of unknowns currently still, given that the DMOs were only put into place last month. But without this, there's a good chance that drinks manufacturers and suppliers will not be able to trade with their customers if they can't accommodate these changes.
Well, coming to you from True Commerce, and we're always dealing with, I guess, compliance issues across the supply chain. And unfortunately, issues with compliance can have lots of negative consequences downstream. So certainly things that people need to be aware of and need to get ahead of in a lot of instances.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks, Vicky. Okay, so in terms of, I guess, labeling, are there any considerations that businesses need to take there?
Yeah, absolutely. So every drinks container will need to have the right DRS code, the right information included on it. And that's where EDI synchronization will help enormously. So imagine you're a drinks manufacturer operating across the UK, selling a variety of different drinks products. Once the scheme comes into place, every product line of yours needs to include DRS data on that label. So that's barcode, deposit values, product codes, return instructions. Early reports that we're hearing are that as and when that information changes, maybe amendments to a deposit amount or another requirement that comes through from the DMO, that information will be transmitted electronically. We can then use your EDI solution to transmit that onwards, translate it, post it into your ERP solution, send it through to other pieces of software that might be involved, other processes, label making, etc. This will mean that you'll avoid mislabeled products, product recalls and customer confusion, and most importantly, fines for non-compliance.
Yeah, thank you, Vicky. Lots of interesting things there for businesses to be aware of. And then moving on. Moving on, we've got some impacts here, I guess, upstream. So is there any impact on this from an EDI point of view and more generally on 3PLs and logistics partners?
Yeah, so I know we've said it a couple of times, but there are a lot of unknowns. This is new. But let's say you're a third party logistics company or 3PL collecting empty containers from returns points. You might need to track pickup volumes, reconcile those against what your reverse vending machines recorded, submit transport and recycling confirmations to the DMO. EDI, True Commerce, enables data exchange between your systems and the 3PL. So your shipment confirmations, your pickup notices, your reconciliation reports, all can be shared in standardized formats like EDI or XML, CSV. And then you've got a complete verifiable trail of container movement.
Thanks, Vicky. So I guess what I wanted to cover on this slide was some of the regulatory issues that businesses might face. So I don't know if you could talk to some of the points on this slide.
Yeah, absolutely. So compliance can spark a little bit of fear. That is obviously one of the biggest pain points. We don't know what the consequences for non-compliance will be, but there are bound to be some. So the types of reports that we're expecting every business to have to submit will detail information such as sales volumes, returns processed, deposits collected versus refunds, exceptions and anomalies. Just the thought of doing this manually it just sounds like a complete nightmare. So with TrueCommerce EDI, we can generate and submit these compliance reports on your behalf per the stipulated formats as they are released by the DMO. We can even transmit records to multiple jurisdictions if you're operating UK wide.
Amazing. And as we're discussing some of the impacts on EDI and how EDI can play a part, I don't know if you want to run through some of the specific EDI messages that might be used as part of this.
Yeah, so the core messages that will be involved in DRS, likely a lot of the people that are attending here will be familiar with already. So dispatch advices, which are used to notify about shipments of return containers, invoices for handling, the financials related to deposits and refunds, receiving advices, those confirm containers have been received at a recycling facility, the orders manage returns logistics like any other normal order would. And then the custom XML schemas, that's a little bit more niche. That's for label data and DMO specific formats. We can also build connectors for custom API or CSV based systems. And with ERP integration options into all leading ERP systems available, TrueCommerce helps you to adapt your tech stack and accomplish supply chain success.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And then thanks for the run through in terms of the EDI messages that are involved across the supply chain and in relation to DRS, Vicky. So what we've pulled together here is, I guess, just an example scenario of, a beverage manufacturer, TC Drinks, and an example of some of the steps they might go through with using EDI, but also without using EDI. So I don't know if you could, speak to the slide.
Yeah, sure. So these are a mid-sized drinks business selling in major retailers across England and Northern Ireland. Without EDI, the sales data is in spreadsheets. Someone's manually inputting that information, manipulating it, using it for reports. The logistics partner is emailing Excel summaries, which again, there's a lot of manual intervention there, a lot of risk around that email communication too. It's very easy to miss an email coming through. And then the DRS related transactions and reports are manually exchanged. So there's an awful lot of human intervention going on there. With EDI, you've got fully automated supply chain transactions and the ability to integrate the DMO required information with the systems that you've available at your businesses. So EDI in general unlocks anywhere upwards of hundreds of hours savings per year in effort. This is only going to increase with the introduction of the DRS scheme. and we will provide you with 100% compliance confidence, just as an extra bonus on top of all that time and money saved.
Yeah, perfect, Vicky. And you're absolutely right. You know, the cost and time saving elements that EDI kind of introduce into supply chains up and down the country, really, for businesses of all kinds is huge. And particularly when you're introducing new, relatively complex, additions into the process as well. It brings challenges, and EDI is certainly a tool that can help standardize and streamline a lot of your processes. But moving on, I thought we could now cover some potential mistakes to avoid if you were undergoing sort of an EDI project with DRS, and some things to avoid. So I don't know if you want to give us a bit of a run through on what any of these points might entail.
Yeah, I've got a few key ones here. So misprinting or omitting your DRS barcodes and logos. So failing to include the correct on-pack labels can lead to rejected containers and an inability to trade with key retail customers. So those retailers are not going to be able to stock your stock without this information. Non-compliance fines, again, unconfirmed in terms of value, but we're sure that they'll happen, and broken recycling streams, should I say. So undercharging or overcharging deposits. So these are expected to be set at different levels dependent on the size of the bottle. So applying the wrong deposit value is not only annoying for customers, but can also breach VAT accounting rules. So make sure that you're charging the correct rate for each material type and invoicing it properly. Lack of staff training on return processes. So without clear procedures and hands-on training, staff can mishandle empty container returns, slowing throughput and frustrating customers. It's really important to deploy a structured training program covering machine operation, exception handling, and customer FAQs. And a big one for us, failing to integrate your returns data into your ERP. So manual reconciliation of returns versus sales data introduces errors and delays refunds. Automating your data flows with an EDI to ERP integration, getting real-time visibility, triggering financial postings, and maintaining audit trails is absolutely the way to go.
Yeah, perfect. And all super important thing that businesses need to be mindful of. So thanks for the rundown, Vicky. And then I thought finally, before we move on to sort of who True Commerce are, how we can help, things like that, if we just give a high level overview of some of the benefits that a business might benefit from using EDI as part of the DRS initiative.
Yeah, sure. So with EDI, you'll get real-time visibility over your supply chain. You'll avoid manually processing orders, invoices, and the individual DRS compliance related requirements that are slowly revealing themselves. And you'll let your EDI system take care of the heavy lifting. Your DRS compliance reporting is massive. Touched on that before. Anything to do with compliance can be a little bit scary because it's not good news if you get it wrong. So we can help with that. Fewer manual errors, which means a vast amount of saved time, depending on the size of your business. Better relationships with your supply chain. It adds complication, cost, effort, confusion when mistakes occur. So avoiding as many of those as possible is a huge benefit for your business relationships. And then scalable systems, whether you're small or enterprise level, with a fully scalable platform that's fit for all.
Yeah, thanks, Vicky. And all things that are, super relevant to businesses of all sizes, like you said. People or businesses going through periods of growth businesses going through periods of growth certainly need scalable systems to help unlock that growth without, reaching a bottleneck and a tipping point, really, where growth becomes unsustainable. Like you said, errors are huge. No one wants to be processing lots of inaccurate data, and the visibility we've touched on as well before. So yeah, all the really important points that I'm glad you covered. So then moving on, we'll get on some questions at the very end, but I want to just briefly touch on, why True Commerce, who we are, what we do, and things like that. So we're a global EDI provider, and we've got a global network. So, we've got teams across the UK and Ireland, we've got offices in Denmark, Germany, if you're in North America, Vietnam and China. So, our network powers transactions globally. We've got support for all types of EDI transactions, formats and standards that come with that. We support businesses wherever they are across the globe. Moving on, want to highlight the network that underpins a lot of the True Commerce works. I've highlighted on the screen here a few clients and connected trading partners, just to highlight some of the brands that we work with on a daily basis. Globally, we've got over 180,000 connected trading partners, which means that anyone really looking to start an EDI or DRS compliance initiative is in the safe hands with True Commerce. And we're really strong in the beverage space, in the grocery retail space, but across lots of industries and verticals as well, from manufacturing to healthcare, wholesale, across the board, really. We've got rich expertise and decades of experience servicing all types of businesses. And then, just wanting to move on. Finally, I won't spend too long on this slide, but high level in terms of some of the things we help our clients with. So, we've got integrations into all leading ERP systems, whether it's Microsoft, SAP. We can really help streamline the flow of EDI and message data into your ERP system. Moving across, we know that onboarding is often a key challenge that people struggle with. And here at True Commerce, we've got dedicated onboarding consultants that really take ownership of this on behalf of our clients. We know that businesses who potentially manage EDI in-house struggle with, resources leading and being unable to kind of replenish those resources. But, at True Commerce, we like to think of ourselves as a true partner. We really help businesses get over cumbersome EDI manual processes and alleviate a lot of the pain that comes with that through our managed service. And, moving on, we are seeing a lot of clients now with increasing e-invoicing requirements. That there are challenges and there are regulations being imposed upon businesses, especially in Europe, to comply with, e-invoicing requirements that are being brought in to tackle fraud and things like that. And True Commerce absolutely can help your business comply with any of these challenges. We do that on a regular basis for our clients, wherever they're based. And, I know we've mentioned the network on previous slides, but that's there as well, highlighting that True Commerce, we do have a global network of connected partners, and we really help our clients stay at the forefront of all their electronic trading initiatives. And finally, questions. So, I know I've seen a couple of questions getting asked during the course of the webinar. Now, I know we've been on for a while, so we haven't got time for them all, but I'll read out the first three, and any further questions we'll get back to at the end. So the first question I can see here, Vicky, is someone's asked, is it difficult to handle EDI messaging requirements for DRS in-house?
You might struggle, is the honest answer, Rick. So EDI already is mandatory for a lot of larger, in particular, retailers across their supply chain. With the introduction of the DRS, it's going to become even more important to automate these processes and to use True Commerce to help you with that. So we touched on the additional requirements with regards to compliance, reporting, reconciliation, all of those additional things on top of what was standard EDI. Is just adding more opportunity for mistakes to occur. So we believe it's really, really important to engage with us, to help you ensure that you're hitting all of these marks correctly and on time.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, EDI is already and can already be quite complex. So any added layer of complexity just adds to the stress, really, doesn't it? So yeah, I think you're absolutely right there. And then moving on.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, so I can see someone here. It looks like they're using Microsoft Dynamics Business Central. And the question is, can TrueCommerce EDI integrate with it?
Yeah, absolutely, we can. So, as Rick touched on a minute ago, we can integrate our EDI solutions with every leading ERP. BC is one of those. We're actually a Microsoft Gold partner, so we've got a wealth of experience with integrating into and out of BC, and I've got expert teams on hand to assist with that.
Amazing. And then final one that I can see is, can TrueCommerce help me trade with customers across Europe?
Yeah, absolutely. So you might have caught it a second ago. These 180,000 global connections that we've got, a big chunk of those are across Europe. So we've got clients operating across multiple regions, whether it's migrated solutions from in-region, in-house solutions into consolidated systems with us, connecting to multiple trading partners in multiple countries, or just the odd one. You win new business, you're branching out, trying to make your mark in a different country. TrueCommerce is there ready to support those growth plans. So another big yes on that front, absolutely.
Perfect. And thank you, Vicky, and thank you everyone for your time today. We really appreciate it. Yeah, really, really, really glad you could all join. So yes, thank you, everyone. We'll share the recording to everyone that's signed up. And thank you very much for taking part.